Expected Outcome, Video 8. You will understand what lights and principles key 4 control for face advance per blast. Effective drilling practice.
The handover of a clean panel to day shift will ensure effective drilling practice. If the panel is clean, it allows day shift to mark off the panel early and the actual drilling can start early. Being able to start drilling early relieves the pressure on machine drillers to be ready in time for the blast and to allow enough time for charging up of the holes. If the panel is not clean and drilling starts late, machine drillers are placed under pressure and will become tempted to open the burdens, that is the distance between the drill holes. They will start drilling the holes further apart as this allows them to drill fewer holes and make up time. If the panel is not clean and drilling commences late, drilling machine operators start drilling long and short holes in their haste to make up time to be ready in time for charging up of the drill holes. If drilling commences early, supervisors can spend quality time on drilling discipline. The supervisor can now focus on inspecting and overseeing drilling machine operators. He can ensure that the hole being drilled is the correct jumper length, that it is drilled at the correct angle, and that the burden between the holes is the correct distance required as per the mining standard. The longer the length of the jumper you drill, the larger the possibility to increase the burdens in front as the angle becomes much more acute. The longer the jumper, the more important it becomes to ensure you drill at the right angle. It is of the utmost importance that drilling discipline is followed painfully correct on every shift. The supervisor can only ensure correct drilling discipline if the panel is handed over to him clean, affording him enough time to concentrate on drilling discipline on every shift.
Drilling key 4. When do we use the key? After marking, before charging up. Who uses the key? The miner and his drilling crew. Light 4.1. The first 10 centimeters you drill is critical for direction, position and elevation, and is called collaring, one of the most essential tasks in mining. The first 10 centimeters you drill will determine the direction of the drill hole drilled. That is called collaring. Collaring. If the first 10 centimeters are drilled at the wrong angle, it will skew the drill hole. Once the first 10 centimeters is drilled wrong, you cannot rectify the drill hole. It will decrease toe burden and will increase the toe burden at the same time. Correct drilling discipline.
It is important that all drill holes are drilled in 90 degrees. If it is not, it will render the stemming effect ineffective. and support will be blown out and rock transportation will take place into the back area of the stone. It is important that all holes are drilled in parallel. If it is not, it will affect the face advance and result in the blasting out of support. It is crucial that all holes are drilled exactly the same length. Why is that so important? No hole can break further than its free face distance. This means the advance can equal the length of a drill hole no matter how much explosives are used. It is believed that a shorter hole can be overcharged to achieve the rectification of a short hole being drilled. This is not the case. The hole can only break out the length of the drill hole as the length determines the free face distance. If the hole is overcharged, it will blow out support and result in longer cracks in the hanging wall. We have to understand that every drill hole will determine how the next hole will break both negatively and positively. Two holes of the same length have determined an equal amount of free face length. The distances between the holes, otherwise known as burdens, will determine the width of free face between the holes. The bigger the width, the more difficult it becomes to break properly as the free face distance increases. The wider the free face, the further cracks will form in the hanging wall. The wider the free face, the weaker the break of rock in between two holes. Explosives at the collar of the hole will have no impact on the explosives in front of the hole.
Light 4.2. Full length. If you don't drill full length, you will increase toe burden to the width between drill hole 1 and 3. It will thus affect all holes above the short hole to break only to the toe end of the short hole. Light 4.3. DE-SLUDGING. Blow out dust with compressed air. If you strike a rock and there is dust on its surface, it will not crack. The dust will absorb the energy. If you strike a rock and there is no dust on its surface, the lack of dust will couple the energy to the rock and it will crack. Dust and grit will absorb the shockwave energy and prevent the drill hole from breaking properly. Dust and grit block the explosives to reach the toe during charging up and prevent the drill hole from breaking properly. Blow out the dust with an aluminium blowpipe. Start at the top holes and end with the bottom holes. Risks of bad drilling practice.
If the panel is not handed to day shift clean, and day shift has to perform cleaning operations, instead of concentrating on their core tasks. The negative impact will be seen immediately on good drilling practice. Bad drilling practice in turn will create preventable safety and production hazards. When a drilling machine operator opens up the burdens between holes, it will result in excessive cracks forming in the hanging wall after the blast. These excessive cracks will increase the cost of support and increase the risk of fall of ground occurring. It will also reduce the distance of face advance achieved during the blast. The haste imposed by an unclean panel on drilling operations will result in the drilling machine operator drilling the holes at the wrong angles. Holes drilled at the wrong angles will damage the hanging wall during the blast. Drilling at the wrong angles will increase the possibility of fall of ground incidents. The fall of ground incidents are the single main cause of fatality incidents underground. Drilling at the wrong angle will result in blasting out existing support during a blast. This increases the risk of fall of ground during pre-entry examination, and support is costly to replace continuously.
Achieved outcome. Video 8. You now understand which lights and principles key 4 switch on for face advance per blast. Up next, video 9. Key 5 lights explained.